And even though I do enjoy most of these movies, I still don't think it takes away from this first Transformers movie being just a very, very solid action movie with, at the time, and honestly, compared to most movies, still state-of-the-art, extremely well-executed visual effects.
And so now we're really at the point where we're just talking about the movie as a whole. I kind of enjoyed this movie. This is a little bit of a middle of the road, maybe slightly above middle of the road movie for me. I don't think the movie's directed with humanity, but it's performed with humanity. I really like the Shia LaBeouf. I think everything with him and again, I know it's dumb, but the whole like relationship stuff is like kind of charming, and the relationship with him and Bumblebee is definitely charming. And like you mentioned E.T. I mean, I would compare it maybe to like any pet movie, Air Bud type thing,
Yeah.
The movie is all over the place in terms of the characters we follow. We barely talked about the Australian hacker lady. She added nothing to the movie, if you ask me. And I know her biggest contribution was taking us to Anthony Anderson's house where we could see that guy run through the glass door. And honestly, like you said, John Voight was fine. Like, I wish the movie had been more on Witwicky. I wish we could have gotten more of the Witwicky parents, because I enjoyed those characters quite a bit.
You do get your wish in the sequels. There's probably a little bit too much of them in some of the sequels, but they're entertaining.
And I guess we probably could have had more Turturro too. I think if you're going to have more Turturro, you probably want to have him play the role a little bit less broad.
Yeah. Well, Monkey's Paw for you, by the way. Second one, when they're dropping off at college, there's a scene where Sam's mom eats a pot brownie. And
yes, no, I've seen the second one.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I've seen the second one, yeah. I'm familiar with the zero script existence of that film. But yeah, I do vaguely remember a pot brownie. Yeah, and again, I think I saw a Mark Wahlberg one too, so I think I saw the first 4.
Okay.
I did not see any storming of Normandy with the
You probably don't need to see 5 unless unless you take a few edibles or really bored. I'm getting away from it. I do really like the way this movie is shot. Speaking of, like you said with like focusing on Sam and like that sense of discovery. Like I like the kind of like low angle looking up. I like how
I agree.
There's not a whole lot of shots of like any Transformer in full view, like shot like a person, which I think is to the movie's advantage.
It also gives you a better sense of their scale too.
Yes, which I think was important for conveying the realism. Like even like when there's a close up of Optimus, like you don't see his whole head. It's usually like zoomed in on his face, and you get like the apparatus by his shoulders, and like I think it just sells that like, and all the bits moving on them too, like on his like ears, the gears are turning as he talks.
My comparison is always going to be the Godzilla movies, because I grew up on those and I've revisited them in my adulthood, and we've covered many of them for the podcast. But that you watch that first Godzilla movie and it's all models and stuff, but it's wonderfully shot from the ground's perspective, and you do get a great sense of scale. Once Godzilla's fighting with monsters in the sequels, they don't care. They just put them on on a barren hill and they're just fighting, and it's like it's funny, it's good in its own way, but it's a completely different thing at that point. And you're right, I would agree that this movie shoots those machines fairly well. As for like how it's shot, I think that's one of its strengths. I don't love the lighting. I don't love the obsession with that kind of early sunset time, like where everyone looks sweaty, and I think that's you mentioned the lighting to maybe make the CG look good a little bit, but I also think that's just that's the lighting that Michael Bay likes, because I remember that in The Rock too.
Yes.
Again, I mean the Megan Fox shot is iconic, but that like there's no nudity and it almost like feels pornographic. There's something about it like with the sweatiness, and it's like I shouldn't be seeing this.
Yeah.
I mean, as a 12-year-old kid, it's like I want to be seeing this, but now it's just like it's a little weird. I don't know, but I don't know. I have kind of mixed feelings on how the movie's shot. Didn't overdo it on the slow motion. I think had this movie been made maybe about 5 years earlier, the Mummy Returns era, we probably would have seen a lot more slow motion. They obviously use it here for emphasis in certain instances, but it's not too much.
Yeah, I think there's like the color grading too is like there's like a bluish yellow tint, and it's kind of trademark in a lot of Michael Bay's movies.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think that looks better at night than it does during the day.
Yeah, that's why I really like during the sequence where they're getting chased by Sector 7 and like Optimus is kind of running down the street and like the floodlights from the helicopters are like flashing on him, and like it looks really good. But you lose that during some of the other times. Even like, the shot where when they're gonna escape, the Sector 7 cavalry's coming in, and they all the Autobots transform in frame and then pull out, and like the lights come on the cars. Like there's a lot of, I think, and I like you said, like it's, during the daytime scenes maybe not as much, but during nighttime I think they use the environment to their advantage to make the effects look as good as possible for the time.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the industrial setting during that first real big, what was it, barricade versus Bumblebee scene.
Yeah, like he throws them into the oil tanker at one point. They do a good job of mixing up like the locales and the environments for like some of the set pieces in the sequels. But they keep coming back to like either industrial or city as like the best looking or best suited environments. Like in the second one, there's the battle in the forest, which is good, but also you lose a little bit of the realism there.
Well, I think what it is I think, and Michael Bay, he wanted to be the next Spielberg. In some ways, he kind of was. In some, certainly not all ways, but he's also came about in that like post Roland Emmerich world too, where blockbuster action movies were always on a huge scale. Like you look at the original Jurassic Park, and there's like 7 characters on the island, and like it feels so quaint in comparison. Now we'd have characters on different continents and all that crap. But then also like Roland Emmerich, I think more than anything really just established cityscapes, the modern cityscape as something to blow up, basically.
Like in Godzilla in 1998, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's, yes, of course. Yeah. And then obviously you can say, well, King Kong started that or whatever. But like moving forward, this is again the Avengers, and it's all in the first Avengers movie. It's all in the like one block outside of Grand Central Station. It's like, but that's just like. That's where you set your big action set pieces.
Well, funny enough, I feel like Transformers 3, which is called Dark of the Moon, the final battle's in Chicago, and it's like an hour-long final battle. If you watch that and then Avengers, which came out a year later, back-to-back, you can see, other than the fact that you're focusing on like 6 core heroes, like the setup and some of the things going on in the battle are like very similar. And Transformers 3 beat them to the punch, like with like a beam to the sky and stuff like that. But I do think
did they originate the Skybeam? Because that was like a big...
They might have. I can't think of
that was like an early 2010s cliche.
Yeah, and Transformers 3 was 2011, so it was ahead of the curve, ahead of Avengers for sure. I mean, I will say, you talk about kind of the hacker plotline being a little bit too far. For the most part, especially in comparison to the sequels, this movie's, I think, fairly restrained. I mean, the runtime isn't horrible. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
220, yeah.
Yeah, with like credits. They peak at like 2 hours and 50 minutes, which the fourth one, it's like...
Jesus.
It's a little too much. And then there's, they have to... It was during the era where a lot of movies were like including stuff specifically for China because movies were blowing up there. And there's like a whole 20-minute like side plot with Stanley Tucci and his Chinese girlfriend. But...
was that the fourth one?
Yeah.
You're talking about? So that was the one where they had that fun scene where they're running around in that like giant apartment building or whatever. I thought that was kind of fun. That's like in China somewhere, I think.
Yes.
Or Hong Kong maybe.
Yeah, but like there's no robots involved. It's just it's Mark Wahlberg fighting
it was a great setting for a scene, and the scene itself felt completely out of place. Yes.
There's quite a few of those throughout these movies. I don't think there's that many in this first one, but you'll see.
There aren't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly no action scenes that feel out of place, I guess. So, you're still a big fan of this movie. How does this compare to the blockbusters of the generation before, of the Spielberg type movies that we grew up with?
Like Jurassic Park?
Or
like Raiders?
Back to the Future, E.T., like those kinds of things.
This movie probably... In the same way those feel like, not Jurassic Park, but like those are like 80s movies. Or I guess there's like a timeless quality to them. This feels like very much like it came out at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm also maybe a little biased because like unlike those movies, I was like the age at this time.
That's true.
But I think in spite of, a little bit of bloat, not as much as the sequels, and a little bit of haphazardness and, Bayism, creeping in. I just think this is a super fun watch. I don't really find myself like fast forwarding just to get to the action scenes if I'm watching it. Again, I think as a complete package, like the build up and the kind of the reveal and the incorporation of the robots into the story and then into the set pieces, I think it's paced pretty well. And then just like crescendoing to those standout moments, like those big money shots, which have aged as well as any movie. I'm just thoroughly entertained every time I watch this. Versus the sequels, well, partly due to their length, but also like, I find myself just picking out specific scenes that I want to watch here and there.
Okay. Like, I want to watch the scene where the robot humps John Turturro's leg.
Yes.
Pop that scene.
Actually, Megan Fox's leg.
Well, I guess John Turturro gets pissed on. I'm just mixing those two things up. And he gets pissed on in this movie.
Yeah. But I think, again, like, there's for the most part, with the, just a few hints of bloat, like, there's the right amount of robot characters. There's...
I agree. There's not
the hacker
too many
plot line. There's the right amount of, like, human protagonists for the most part. The tone feels...
Right amount of human antagonists, too. They didn't go too far. Like, Turturro's this, like, shady figure, but that was kind of it.
We do get human antagonists in some of the sequels, like working with the Decepticons, but that's
I figured you probably do at some point. Yeah.
Tone-wise, I feel like it lands on the exact right tone for this kind of movie, where it's almost like owning its preposterousness, but not in a way that like makes light of the material.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it doesn't undermine the material. I agree, but it also knows that it isn't high art. Yeah. I think that's fair. I will also say, but on top of that, though, tone wise, I think there's a little. I think we could have, gotten rid of the masturbation part.
Yeah.
And there's a few things.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if Transformers is a kid's property, this movie isn't really for like 7-year-olds. It's more for like tweens.
Yeah, isn't that's kind of.
But that's how they kind of got me, right?
That was this era of like things that were for kids are now for teenagers. I feel like we saw that, it's Michael Bay connected, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and, well, I guess like Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a fucking Disney ride, but you're making a PG-13 movie out of it, and that's a great movie. One of them. The sequels are terrible, but like, I think that was like this that era of the 2000s. Something about it.